And one of the things that I did every day was walked around all of the floors to say hello. I used to walk around and say, hey guys, what's going on? And I love to be able to inspire people, and I think people love that. Baby. You want to energize, you want to unlock their energy, unlock their innovation. And I think, life's too short not to walk around, not to have fun. I'm an economist by training, and so from the very first class that I took in economics, I loved it, and I just wanted to learn more and more about it. And what I ended up doing was starting my career at the Fed as an economist, and then I went to Wall Street. The Lehman collapse, of course, was, to say the least, a very interesting experience. A lot of lessons learned, not the least of which is how important governance is, by the way. So you asked, how did it happen that I ended up even being at the World Bank? Interesting question. I got a call from a search firm, and apparently they had 177 applications, and I thought, who the heck goes through 177 applications, and why are you calling me? The headhunter had an associate, and she said to me, now, you're going to go to the World Bank, and just don't want you to look too New York. And I said, well, what is that? She goes, well, let's just say you're a sharp dresser, and so I think you should go with a navy suit, button-down white blouse, and put your hair up in a bun. And don't wear those fancy shoes. So I said to myself, what kind of place is this? First of all, where do I get these clothes? Secondly, what happens if I get the job and then I come bobbing in looking like me? They're going to say, who the heck are you? And thirdly, I don't want to work for a place that cares about my hair should be in a bun and I don't have, So I said, thank you for your advice, but I'm going the way I'm going. Because guess what? I won't be comfortable sitting in a chair talking to somebody looking like somebody else. Coming from Wall Street, it's not as if we see a lot of women. That's something I always joke about when I go to, the symphony or the theater or the opera, and there's always these big long lines for the ladies' room. And I say that's the one advantage on working on Wall Street, there's never a line for the ladies' room. But when I came here, I was really quite surprised, especially in Treasury. The number of women professionals at senior levels with responsible, important jobs was very much a pleasant surprise to me.
The worst of the financial crisis is over, but the global economic recovery underway is fragile and could slow later this year.
2011 was a very interesting, obviously to say the least, time period, because that was when the European banks were having very significant struggles. European countries were having significant problems. And of course, the US in August was downgraded by one rating agencies. Of course, I'm responsible for overseeing, all of this money that we manage. And so, putting in place a lot of stress tests and a lot of ways of measuring the risk to make sure that we would be, well positioned and not suffer any losses. And we did very well. You need to always balance risk and return. You need to be able to measure the risk, and so you need to be prudent about the risk. There's certain kinds of risks you never want to take. Reputational risk, to me, that's, you take your entire life to build your reputation, and it takes 3 seconds to destroy it. So there are certain that's non-negotiable. But otherwise, you always need to look at what's the risk return, like the Uruguay transaction. When that first came to me, people said, no, we can't do this. I'm like, why not? That was a fascinating transaction. It actually was in all the financial press being called a revolutionary transaction. 2012, Uruguay had a pretty significant drought. And at that time, they were close to 85% hydropower generated. So they had to raise price for the consumers. They had to issue debt. They had to have a shortfall, deficit in their budget. And we ended up doing this transaction, which was in swap form, and $450 million. And it was the largest ever that there was a weather an energy derivative ever in the markets in the world. Now, the other thing was the capital at risk note. It's one of the things that I'm really most proud of, because this really has set the groundwork and the framework for being able to hedge against and mitigate the risk of any type of event. In fact, recently, you guys just completed the pandemic, which we started when I was here, with Ebola, which was really evolved out of this capital at risk note program.
Done.
Spent a lot of time on innovation, spent a lot of time working with people in the capital markets for sure. But what I'm also very proud about is that I spent time with each and every one of the departments within Treasury and had an impact on each one. Technology. We had a whole systems renewal project, and that impacted everything. Investment management, it impacted operations, because we had very antiquated systems, even to figure out what our balances were. It impacted everything, including other aspects of finance. And then also wrote several board papers, which again set the stage for what you guys are doing today.
We really missed you, Madelyn.
Innovation doesn't come by sitting in a room all by yourself. And so this is something that Treasury has to continue to do, be out there talking to the markets and talking to the clients to say, what's the problem that you have? And then collectively you figure out the solution. In terms of, well, has everything been innovated? The answer is absolutely not. And I think this is a really great opportunity for the World Bank, in particular, given where the market is. Once you're at the World Bank and do such important things, really nothing compares. And that's the reality.